It's a long one still. Hey y'all,
What's up, y'all?
I'm Elise,
And I'm Will.
and this is
Team
Tatum.
We're continuing our 1001 movies you must watch before you die 2020 edition. And today's movie is the 1979 sci-fi horror Alien, directed by Ridley Scott, with a star-studded cast of an unknown Sigourney Weaver at the time, Tom Skerritt, John Hurt, who we'll get to that in a second. Let me read off this because there's a lot of people in this movie. I don't want to forget nobody.
And I wish I knew whether they were big names at the time of this filming or if they became big names afterwards.
Our buddy Harry Dean Stanton, who's not technically a big name, but we've seen him in a lot of stuff.
He's big to us.
He's big to us. Ian Holm, that I know mostly from Fifth Element as Priest. And there's one more person, Yaphet Kotto, and that's it. Yeah, Yaphet Kotto.
That's basically the whole cast.
Right. The premise of the movie is a group of semi-astronauts. They're a mixture of like engineers, doctors, military-esque people. I don't think any of them are like for real military. But it's a space crew, and they are basically mining stuff out in space, and on their way back home to Earth they get a distress signal and they gotta go investigate it, and stuff goes south.
Warning, spoilers ahead.
So it starts off with a slow crawl, very similar to Star Wars. And before we get into that, this is the first movie on the list that we have seen already. Now, granted, we only saw it once. Well, I only saw it once.
Technically.
Had you seen it more than once?
I don't know, brother.
Sure.
After watching it, I was like, have I even seen this before?
So we watched Alien on Hulu with our Hulu subscription. So you can check it out there. And it was the regular cut. It wasn't the director's cut, which I found out about later. And I'm glad we didn't watch the director's cut. And I'll get into that later in our little spoiler section. So anyway, back to this beginning. It starts off with a slow crawl of the spaceship, similar to how Star Wars starts off with the just up close, you seeing the spaceship go overhead.
The underbelly.
Which I did learn that he did it to pay homage to Star Wars, which is crazy because Star Wars just came out a year before it. Mm-hmm. So, like, why are you paying homage to a movie that just came out right before yours? But
yeah, I like the idea and I like the movie, so shout out to them.
It wasn't as long as Star Wars, but it clearly was doing that. And then they had a little blurb of information saying that it was a 7-member crew and that they were out mining ore, like a special ore that's only out in space, like, because, you know, we done robbed the Earth of anything that it has to offer. And that they were making their way back home. And the name of the ship was
their way back home.
Nostromo, I think. I'm gonna go ahead and say this now. Alien franchise fans, don't at me, okay? I know y'all run deep and y'all love this franchise dearly. I'm gonna get stuff wrong. I'm human. So it's 7 people. So we know it's only 7 people in this movie. So when the credits was going, we saw John Hurt, and I was like, oh, R.I.P. buddy. Then we start watching the movie, and we see everybody because we know it's only 7 members, and I know that nobody else is in this movie that's not an alien. So where's John Hurt? And Elise was thinking the same thing. She was like, I was about to say the same thing. And so she looks him up on IMDb, and she was like, oh, we have seen John Hurt.
Correction.
And I was like, where? I was like, I know this was a while ago, but he shouldn't look drastically different. Like, it ain't been that long. And then she shows me, and I was like, oh.
It's not her.
Actually, no, sorry. That's not her. No, sorry about that. That's not her.
It's not her. So, insert IT crowd. So yeah, I 100% had the wrong person in mind. So we're watching it at this point. I'm like, oh, I was thinking of John Hurd,
With the
not
D.
John Hurt. Spoiler alert. Also not that man. So John Hurt is Ollivander from Harry Potter. I mean, that's not his biggest role, but that's
You may have seen
you
him
may have
there.
seen him as Ollivander in the Harry Potter movie franchise. Which I have seen him in other stuff before, but that's just where he sticks out to me as for whatever reason. But and we also do like him, and he still gets an RIP because he is no longer with us. But John Hurd, who I thought it was, is the daddy from Home Alone.
Mm.
Is not who I was thinking of, which is William Hurt. So still a Hurt,
William
not
Hurt.
any relation to John Hurt, but
Or Hurt.
or Hurt.
Especially Hurt.
But yeah, William Hurt, aka Thunderbolt Ross from the MCU, or the leader of the Village from The Village, amongst a plethora of other things. Anyway, the movie opens up inside the spaceship once we get through the crawl, and they say that they were heading back to Earth, and the ship starts lighting up and all of that, and then it goes into these like pods, and the pods open up, and John Hurt is the first person that wakes up. Young John Hurt, youngish John Hurt, and we were like, oh, they've been cryo-sleeping or whatever, because we've watched quite a few sci-fi movies. We know what cryo-sleep is.
I would like to try it.
So
maybe I'll finally not be tired.
So they wake up and they're checking, the maps and all that, and they're like, this is not our solar system or whatever. This is not our system. So turns out that Mother, aka the ship, that's the name of the ship. Well, that's the name of the ship. That's the name of the computer, the AI computer that's on the ship. Is Mother, which was MU-TH-R or something like that, and they nicknamed it Mother.
I just thought it was a short phrase for motherboard.
Right, that's what I thought. That's what I thought too, but that's not the case. And the medical doctor on the staff, played by Ian Holm, he's like, Mother woke us up early than expected. We're not in the Milky Way. Like we're halfway home, but we're not where we need to be, where we should have woken up at, because there was a distress signal. So they like, what's up with this distress signal? And so they got to go to the planet now. Yafet and our boy Dean are the engineers. So we get introduced to the crew. Yafet and Dean are engineers. They're the maintenance guys. They're the supers. So anything that breaks, they fix it. You got Ian Holm. His name is crap. What was his name? Ash. So he's Ash. He's the medical doctor on staff. You got Sigourney Weaver, who is the safety officer. Tom Skerritt is the captain. He's the pilot of the ship. And then finally, you got John Hurt, who I don't know what he did.
Use the personality hire.
Right, and then the lady, the blonde lady, and I don't know what she did neither.
The neighborhood crier.
The Karen
literal
on the ship. So they they go back to business. I would have gone back to sleep. You know what I'm saying? I would have been like, y'all go check that out. I don't got nothing to do with that. But
this is not in my job description.
They go to the planet, and it looks like Saturn. Like it has the rings around it, but it also has like two smaller, like probably the moon. And they put on.
It was definitely the
moon. They put on their suits, which look terrible, by the way. These suits look like your kid who watched Toy Story for the first time, and then Halloween came around, and they were like, Mom, I want to be Buzz Lightyear. And then you go to the store and you see the costume, and you're like, Mom, look, it's Buzz Lightyear. She's like, $80? They better pay no $80.
We got Buzz Lightyear at home.
That's what them suits look like, Buzz Lightyear at home. They were terrible. I was like, that don't look like that protect me from nothing. I'm definitely not going outside the spaceship in these. So the captain, the blonde lady, and John Hurt go out and investigate or whatever, right? Soon as they step outside, they see what clearly looks like an alien spacecraft. Like, it don't look like a human-made ship. I'm already out, okay?
But they might be used to seeing alien spacecrafts.
I'm out still. I'm not, no. So yeah, this thing looks cool, like visually, watching the movie, but in real life, I see that moonwalking back onto the ship.
Do not moonwalk away from me. Do not. You are not. You're doing it.
But they go and investigate. They get inside. That was flag number 1. Flag number 2, they get inside and they see a giant dead humanoid alien.
And we talking about giant.
Huge. And
2 stories tall.
yeah, like this thing is ginormous, and they're like, this thing is dead, like, but like it has something medically wrong because there's a hole in his chest. And I'm like, why are we still here? Let's pack up and go. Clearly it ain't nothing here we need to be saving, so let's bounce. But nah, they just like, no, let's investigate some more. Now the distress signal was like garbled, right? And Ash is the one who picked it up because he's the one who's like authorized. Him and the captain are authorized to look at Mother. And so Sigourney Weaver is Ripley. I'll just call her Ripley. Ripley is asking like, yo, what exactly did this distress signal say? And Ash was just like, who cares? Like, it's a distress signal. Let's figure it out. And she was like, well, let me take a crack at it. Maybe I can figure it out. And he's being weird about it, but he finally is like, all right, whatever. I'll let you figure it out. And then they're showing, they have like cameras on their helmet, and they're kind of showing what's going on, but it's like scrambled because there's like a storm happening on the planet and all that. And I think once they get inside the ship, like the camera cuts out, like they can't see or hear anything.
Interference.
And so the inside of the ship looks cool. Like, all the set design on this whole movie was dope. The only thing that looked bad was the like showing of space from the cockpit. Like, that looked like a bad green screen. And it was something else like early on in the beginning. But everything else after that looks great. The inside of this alien spaceship looks like, so me and Lisa were talking about, it looked like the inside of an alien. Like, it looked like bones. Yeah. Like its inside structure.
Like it was a living organism.
Right. And having not seen this the first time, I don't remember what I thought about it, because basically this was like watching it for the first time again. Mm-hmm. But I'm pretty sure I probably would have been like, y'all better get out of there. That's the inside of an alien. Like, y'all need to. Clearly, this is insides and guts we looking at.
Belly of the beast right now. It's been swallowed.
So John Hurt goes exploring. What is John Hurt's name? Kane. So Kane, Tom Skerritt is Dallas. I know that. So Kane goes exploring, and he sees this. He goes down in this hole, which looks more like an intestine. Like, it looks more like you're going inside the belly of the beast. And I was like, we should not be here, right? So he goes down. They stay up top. They still investigating this giant skeleton. Oh, it's not a skeleton. It's like fossilized at this point. And he stumbles across a room. Not 1, not 2, not even 6. A room full of clearly eggs.
And we talking about a long room.
A long room. Like a football field of eggs. That's strike 3. Let's pack up and go. I don't need to be nowhere where there's a bunch of eggs of anything.
And clearly he wasn't the scientist on board, because he was like, what are these?
Right. It's like, you don't know what eggs look like? Like, I don't care if it's an alien or not. You know what an egg looks like. Unless I'm on a chicken farm, any large group of eggs, I don't want to be around.
Right.
Nature has showed us that when you accidentally stumble across babies, mama is not too far away, and they don't take kindly to people being around their babies. You know what I'm saying? Like, your natural human instinct should have had you being like, hey, y'all, we gotta go.
Yeah.
But he decides to trek on, doing the classic white people doing too much. Stop. Unless it's a horror movie, then continue on because it's entertainment. We wouldn't have it without you doing this. But in real life, if I'm with you, I'm no longer with you. If we walked in some place together and this starts to go down, you can count me out. I don't care how close we are. I don't care how long we've known each other. What the case may be, I'm out this piece. I'm not following you. So he continues on and slips in the most comical way
Because it's like
possible.
a little catwalk type of situation going down the middle of the room, and the eggs are down lower on either side of the catwalk when he's walking.
He slipped, and instead of just trying to get back up, he's like, well, let me take a closer look at these eggs. He shined a light on them.
R.I.P. bro.
And sees that these things are indeed living, breathing eggs because he can see something moving around. Why are you still here? So he's like, hey y'all, there's something inside this thing. Like, what's going on here? He intrigued. And then the top opens up. This is strike 72 at this time.
So many opportunities to flee the scene, and he avoided every one of them.
Wait, before the top opened up, the eggs start leaking up. When
Like,
stuff drips, it drips down. This was dripping up.
Like raindrops. Raindrops falling off of a roof. How
But
that looks, but it's going I said vertically. Well, it is going vertically.
it is going
but
vertically.
It's going up instead of down.
Now, you may say, but they're in space. Gravity? No, because we established that they wasn't using no type of gravity thing, and they was walking just fine inside this spaceship. So gravity is not a factor here.
And it would just float if that was the case. It wouldn't be pulling itself up.
Wouldn't be dripping.
Ain't no reverse gravity out there.
So the way they did that was they turned the camera upside down and had a thing above the camera and filmed it going that way. It's a cool effect. It looked cool. Again, watching the movie. In real life, I'm terrified. But I wouldn't have been there for the drip. I would have saw the eggs and bounced before I even saw this drip.
It's room for the eggs, y'all. Let's get out of here.
Right. So then the thing opens up. This fool.
What's in there?
What's in here? I can't feel bad for you. Okay? When we're watching a horror movie, we only feel bad for the people who minding their business.
Yeah.
Anybody who invites foolery into their life is like, I can't give you the Sammy Sosa.
No Sammy Sosas over here.
It's not happening. So, of course, the thing pops out, and this is where we first see the face hugger. So again, because I knew about pop culture alien stuff, I knew what the face hugger was. So it doesn't show it latch onto him. It just shows like come out. I know what's happening because I'm aware. So the next scene is Ripley and Ash, bickering inside the station, and then they hear like, "Hey, yo, let us in." And Ripley's like, "Hey, what's going on?" They were like, "Hey, yo," he says it so casually. "Hey, yo, Kane got something on his face. We need to get it off." Come again? Excuse me? Say what? And she was like, "What kind of thing?" And he was like, "I don't know, some kind of alien, whatever." But like, we're afraid he's unresponsive, and we need to get this thing off him. And she was like, no.
You know what the rules say, right?
And they like, "Man, let us in." And she was like, "I'm the safety officer. I say when you or if you get let in."
Okay, let's charge.
Wait a minute, I'm the leader. I'm the one that says when we go. Here we go.
You not getting let in? And they like, "Hey, bro, you tripping?" Like, "No, you tripping."
She's like, "Y'all can come in. Kane can't come in.
At least for 24 hours. She's like, "You know the protocol. You got 24 hours to what's the thing called?
See what's gonna happen."
Basically. And so they arguing. The blonde chick is like cussing out Ripley because she won't let them in. I'm like, why are y'all arguing with this lady? You don't know what this thing is. And this, like she said, it's my job. Why are you tripping? So then she's standing 10 toes down. I'm not opening this door. And then the dumbest thing happens to me. Ash is like standing at the airlock door because she's up in her little console. She's up in her station. He's down where the airlock is. He's just like, and presses the button. And I'm just like, okay, as a safety precaution, why would you have it so that someone at the airlock could just manually open the door if they felt like it? Why would you not have total control in your area of the cockpit to keep that door locked? So that's a flaw that shouldn't have been made in building that spaceship. So he let him in, and she's like,
What the F?
"What the F, bro?" And he's like, "I gotta let him in." It's like, no, you don't.
You literally don't.
You literally don't. So they take him to the medic bay, and then all they do is put on the worst N95 masks ever. First, we thought they were oxygen
And
masks.
they were child size.
Right, yeah, they didn't even fit. They covered their nose and barely their bottom lip. Like they were right there on their soul patch. It didn't cover up their chin. And I was like, man, if you don't take that mess off. And then they didn't have their hair covered. I need a hazmat suit. Like me and Elise were like, where's the hazmat suits at?
I live in a hazmat suit at this point.
And y'all didn't have the little doctor scrub hairnet thing.
I call it a Dr. Do-Rag.
They had a Dr. Do-Rag on. They didn't have a full mouth covering. And we were like, what's the point of this?
On gloves.
Yeah, they didn't have no gloves on. I was like, y'all could have just kept y'all regular clothes on and left this little baby mask off. They cut off, they show a shot of cutting off the helmet. The thing is not on the helmet. It done gone in the helmet.
It like burned through. It looked like the helmet and is directly on his face.
And the helmet thick. Like it ain't no little thin glass. Like this is space proof thick helmet, the thing inside. So they cut it off of him, and the thing is just on his face, and this is breathing, and it's got like a tail wrapped around his neck. So they try to pull it off, and the tail tighten up around his neck, basically saying like, hey, don't touch me, or he dead. I'm gonna kill this fool if you keep messing with me. So they like, we can't just pull it off, so let's try cutting it off. So they get this laser cutter, and up near the head, it's like fingers, like it was knuckles. You could see knuckles, so it's almost like you palmed your own face, right? So all over the face is the fleshy part, and then around the neck is this tail, like a sectioned snake tail, and then up towards the top of the head is like fingers or whatever, right? And so they go to the fingers, and he's like, cut right here at this knuckle, and as soon as they cut, acid pours out. But it's the blood of the thing, so it's like it has acid blood, and it immediately eats through the floor. And they like, oh snap! And so they like, abort mission, go follow where the acid goes. So they got to see how far it goes down, like 2 or 3 floors, right? And then it finally stops. And they like, man, if this thing kept going, it would have got through the whole of the ship, and we would have been out of here. We'd have been out of here. And they were like, well, guess we can't cut it off. And your boy, the black guy, on the only sane person on the ship, is like, why don't you try freezing it? And I was like, yeah, freeze the thing. But I was also like, matter of fact, screw the freezing, just burn it. Like, Kane gotta go. Kane.
And then they said, they were like, he's in a coma at this point. The alien is breathing for him, so even if they did pull it off of him, they don't know if he would start back breathing on his own or if he would just die. So I was like, so he basically did.
He basically did. Kill him.
This is Grey's Anatomy. They would have pulled the plug immediately. They don't play about comas. Like, oh, he had a coma. Look like he ain't coming back, y'all.
Dead.
Let the family know.
They also did so when they found out the thing was breathing for him, they did an x-ray and they could see there was something down his throat. Like an incubator, not incubator, incubation, and so incubator tube. That's what that is. What? And so I'm just like, yeah, Kane brought this on himself. You know what I'm saying?
He messed around and found
out. Kane gotta go. So they leave him in there. Ash is in there studying. Like, so Ash is fascinated. Ash is getting his scientist on, and he's just like, I gotta figure out what this thing is. Everybody else bounce, right?
let me interject really quickly. Also, where they had him, Kane, was this big room, not secure at all. It was basically like
The medical bay.
yeah, but no way to secure him or the alien in there if something went wrong.
He just on the table.
Yeah, not strapped down even. He just laying on the table.
They
Big
did put
old
him in that
room.
one thing when they scanned him, but it was just glass.
Yeah,
Like to her point that him and that thing could have just broken out of there if
at
they
any
wanted
time.
to. And they once they scanned him, they put him back on the regular like table. So they go back to their business and all that, right? And Ripley does decipher some of the distress thing, but she's like, it wasn't really a distress call. It was more like a beacon. Like we were called there, kind of deal. And Ash is like, well, that's crazy. So at this point, Ripley started looking side eye at Ash or whatever, right? And then, like I said, they going about business as usual. And then Ash comes over the intercom and he's like, Dallas, who's the captain? He's like, I think you should come to the medical bay.
He got on my nerves so much with those calls over the intercom. Oh my gosh.
Just nonchalant, like, hey, yo, Dallas, you need to come to the medical bay. And then Dallas, just as nonchalant, is like, what? If I know a dude got an alien on his face in the medical lab, and you tell me I need to come to the medical lab, I'm gonna be like, what? What happened? What's going on? Like, I'm gonna be freaked out about it. But he was just like, what? So this movie was not scary, but if my blood pressure wasn't through the roof, my blood pressure was so high.
You're stressing me
like
out.
I was so stressed. So they go see, and the thing is gone. Ash still there, but the thing done disappeared. Immediately when I walk in and don't see the thing on Ash's face, I'm like, yo, where's it at? Like, where? Nobody is
like,
on this.
Where is it? He's like,
I don't know.
It's just gone.
So they start looking around like, here, kitty, 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 like it's a lost cat. And it winds up falling from the roof on Ripley's shoulder. She freaks out, and like they swat it, and it's dead already. And it's flipped over, and they can see the insides. And here go Ash being a scientist again. He's like, man, this is fascinating. Look at the inside of it, whatever, and all that, yada yada yada. Ash still over there. They don't know what his status is because they too busy looking at this thing on the ground.
Kane over here. So they once again go back to. I don't even remember what they did with the face hugger. Me either.
I don't remember what they did with it. Irrelevant. They go about their business. Here come Ash again on the intercom. Hey, yo, Dallas, you should come to the medical bay.
Come on back over here.
And once again, Dallas is like, what's going on? Why? He's like, I think you should just come to the medical bay. Bro, use your words. Tell me what's going on. They go to the medical bay. Turns out Kane done woke up. Why couldn't you just say, hey, Kane's awake?
Right.
Ain't that exciting news? We thought this man was dead. If I was on the squad, I was aiming to kill this dude. So, hooray, he not dead, right? So they're like, hey man, how you doing? How you feel? And he was like, I feel alright, I guess. He's like, last thing I remember is like looking at the eggs or whatever, right? So
he said he had a feeling of suffocating.
Yeah. And that was the last thing. So they like, let's go eat. So they partying. They in the mess hall of the ship partying, eating or whatever. And then they cracking jokes and all of that stuff. And then he starts coughing, and they just like, hey man, you alright? They pat him on the back.
It started as like
he was choking.
A laugh, cough, like one of those. But then it just kept going, escalating.
And then they were like, oh no, he's having a fit. Like, this is not normal. And he's like, he starts freaking out. And he's like, and he flips over on his back, and he's heaving his torso up, and we get the famous chest buster scene. The alien done grown. The face hugger basically implanted him with an egg. The egg went through its maturity phase and then bust out of his chest. So the reaction that they had, 100% genuine. They did not tell him what was gonna happen. So
that's the kind of stuff I would do in a movie.
Right. Kane and the captain were the only people who knew what was going on. Everybody else didn't know what was going on. So when the blonde lady got splattered with all that blood, that scream she did, that was 100% like, oh my god. So she freaked out. So that was a genuine reaction that Ridley Scott got. And it was bloodier. That scene was bloodier, which is pretty bloody already.
Yeah. Just imagine how much blood there has to be with something burst out of somebody's chest.
Right.
So it was a pretty good amount.
But yeah, the executives were like, "Yo, you gotta cut this down. We're gonna get an X rating." And so he cut it down. So then again, smart black man is like, "Hey, yo, kill this thing," and goes to kill it, and Ash is like, wait a minute, and the thing runs off. The thing runs off, and then Yafet is looking at him like, now what we gonna do?
Right.
Now the thing gone. And I'm like,
this big old ship.
Right, it's a huge ship. This is not like a rowboat. How are we gonna find this thing? And again, Ripley is looking at Ash like, why did you stop him from killing this thing? Like, what was your game plan? So Ash is like, don't worry, we can find it. There's a tracking device. I have a tracking device. It detects movement. If I didn't understand him at first, I thought he had a tracking device on it. And I was like, how you already got a tracking device on it? But no, it was just a tracking device for movement, which is fast forward and how they found Jonesy. Where they thought they found it, but it wound up being Jonesy because Jonesy was moving around. So Jonesy is a cat.
I call it
not a Flarkin.
Romulus.
And he in traditional, well, I guess this pretty much started the whole orange. I guess that's a tabby cat. I don't know. In sci-fi movies, because Men in Black, one had it, Captain Marvel had it, some other movie had it. Like, it's always an orange tabby cat.
Because it's that orange cat culture.
Y'all
know what I'm talking about.
So they're looking on the little monitor thing, and they find Jonesy.
I don't want to go scene for scene, but I have to mention the
it's hard
the
not to go
funeral
scene for scene in this movie.
I want to mention Kane's funeral.
Oh yes.
So, in true out in space and one of your crew dies fashion, they wrapped Kane up and shot him out of the ship into space. But why they shot this man out so hard, I do not know. So, like on dang, now I'm blanking on the name of the movie. Guardians of the Galaxy 2, when they shot
Yondu
out of the ship, it was a very nice, peaceful coast. Oh, spoiler alert. If you haven't seen Guardians of the Galaxy 2. But it was a nice, peaceful coasting out. Fireworks. Beautiful situation.
It was a great funeral.
On.
One of the best funerals in a movie ever.
They shot this man out so hard. It was like.
Okay.
It was like a. It was like a can. It was like a can left in the freezer.
Yeah,
soda left in the freezer. It popped. Oh man. He
like
shot out like a Roman candle.
It was like, golly.
It was not ceremonial at all. They were just like, get out of there.
I know, get rid of this food.
It was like a torpedo coming out of there.
Just save me. Put me in the freezer until we get back. Bury me the regular way.
So Jonesy runs off and they like, hey, you let the cat go, Brett. Brett is so we know Brett as the drunkard. Like, he's always a drunk guy in the movie.
He's the man that Dean, that we were saying he's big to us, he might not be big to y'all.
Yeah. But they like, yo, you gotta go get the cat. And he's like, why? It's just like we looking for the alien. He was like, exactly. This monitors movement. So if he running around, we gonna find
Looking
him
in the
again
wrong
instead of the
direction.
alien. So he's like, all right, whatever. So he go find Jonesy like off in the corner, and he's like, hey Jonesy, and he's like hiding behind something, and he's trying to get him. And from behind Brett, you see the tail first, and then the alien like unfolds itself and comes down, which looks completely different than how we saw it 2 scenes earlier. So it's black and it's huge.
Like you done grewed up.
When it burst out of the chest, it was white and it was the size of like a Yorkie or whatever.
Well, it was like grayish that time when it came down to kill
Oh
him.
yeah, when it came down, it was still kind of gray, but it was still
It had changed
as
colors
big as him.
and it's big
as him
now.
Now only maybe an hour had gone by.
Yeah.
At best, probably. Like they don't show what the time frame is, but it ain't been that much time. So it unfolds down, and then Jonesy the cat sees it because he looking that direction. He hissed. So the way they did that, they had a German Shepherd in the room behind a black screen, and then they put the cat in there. So the cat didn't know the dog was there. And when Brett went to reach for it, they lifted up the screen, and the cat saw the dog and freaked out. I was like, that's cool.
We were like, this cat is a good
Yeah,
actor.
this cat was acting. This cat deserves an Oscar. And so the cat freaking out, and Brett is like, and he does the slow turn and sees
mouth juice everywhere,
and it does the up close shot of the xenomorph, and it's terrifying looking. It's gross, all the things. And then he opens up his mouth, and it gets the reveal of the second mouth that it has inside of his mouth, and it's
silver tooth kid
kills that dude. Oh yeah, when the chest buster came out, Elise was like, you know that thing bad. It was born with silver teeth.
You know them silver tooth kids are a different breed.
But yeah, so it kills Brett, and then one of the best shots in the movie, it shows an up close shot of Jonesy, of just his face, and that cat is given the oh my god. That cat was wide eyed and was freaked out.
He could not believe what he just saw.
That cat was like,
I was saying, we were like, at first we were like, this is the best animal actor we've ever seen. It was like, no. Old Yeller. He was the best animal actor I've ever seen.
That dog acted out more than the humans.
Child. He was the best actor in the movie.
Whole movie. But yeah, so that's the first real on purpose kill of the alien. The first one, it was like, this is how I get born.
This is how I get out.
Like, sorry. So now we got 2 dead. We got 5 left. In total, the alien is only seen in the movie for 4 minutes. Like, you only see it for 4 minutes.
Quality over quantity,
which I appreciate. I like it. And they only showed it from certain angles, so you never got a full sense of what it looked like. So your imagination would do the rest.
I'll tell you one thing I didn't like about what I saw. That thing running. Whenever they would show it running, it was terrible. It was like a sock puppet saying, like, where your legs at? What's happening here?
The slime in the alien, KY jelly.
Typical.
And for the tendons being stretched out and all that, they shredded up condoms.
This is a real Diddy party.
But yeah, so I've been doing a lot of play-by-play, but I just wanted to talk about like those scenes. So they realize this thing, they find Brett's body, and they're like, this thing ain't playing around. So then they make some flamethrowers and they go looking for him.
Somehow they figured out how huge it was too. I don't remember where they came from, got the realization of that. But when they found Brett dead, they were like, this thing is huge, basically. That's what they said. And like we gotta come up with something, because if it gets into whatever thing, I don't know what they said.
Yeah, it wasn't like it was this point exactly where they started acting normal in my book in terms of like what level of
They're being invaded and such.
freaked
How
out.
they need to be actually acting.
Yeah, because they were like nonchalant about everything
Like,
up
"Oh,
until
we
this
gotta
point.
go find this little thing that killed our friend."
Right. Now they actually like scared and all that. So Dallas, the captain, goes looking for it in the tunnels. He does an abysmal job. He getting a play-by-play from up top of the monitor of where this thing at, and he like,
Where is it?
he
I
the
don't see nothing.
he the John Travolta
Where?
meme.
Who?
Like,
Yeah.
he don't know what's going on. He
And
get
like,
toe up.
it's to your left.
He like,
You have
huh?
to see it right now. It's to your left. You like, down here, up
Your
there,
left, boy.
my right. He turned to the left, and the thing was like, I'm right here to your left. You did.
They go down looking for him. They don't find a body, and they were just like, we don't know what happened. There's no blood. Like, we didn't find a body. In the director's cut, that's explained. He gets taken, and Ripley later finds him in a nest. Like, he's still alive, but he's like barely conscious, and he's like basically being digested slowly.
Nice.
Not digested, but getting like he's I think the alien was like getting him ready for to be incubated again, like when another face hugger
Got it.
gets born.
Was
So,
he naked? I envisioned him being
he was
naked.
covered up to his head.
Oh.
And like this big, like the whole part was like a big fleshy nest or whatever. And he was like, kill me, and she torched him with
I
the
think
flame.
I saw that before. That sounds real familiar.
But yeah, that's not in the regular cut.
I might have seen the director's cut.
But we don't see him until she's trying to bounce and she's running around. But anyway, so fast forward, black dude die, the blonde hair girl die.
I really did not expect Dallas to die as soon as he did.
Right.
Because he was like a big person in the movie.
So Tom Skerritt, I finally figured out where I knew that food from.
Where?
Still Magnolias. The daddy from Still Magnolias. I was like, show is you. Because I recognized like nearly everybody.
I was like, he was the daddy of the 80s.
Yeah. I was like, she was right. He was the daddy of the 80s. So yeah. So again, as I said in the beginning, Sigourney Weaver was a nobody at this point. But they liked her look, right? And so that's how they hired her. And
she's got a strong face.
I
like it.
They marketed it as Dallas was gonna be the hero of the story.
He was
John Hurt.
Fast and Furious Ja Rule.
So it's gonna be either Dallas. It was either gonna be John Hurt or Tom Skerritt. John Hurt was the first person they showed, like the first human they showed. So as a movie watcher, you're like, oh, he's gonna be the star, and then he was the first person to get killed. So then people were like, oh my god, what's happening?
What's happening?
So then they're
Anybody
like, oh,
can go.
Tom Skerritt, daddy of the 80s, and the captain, he gonna survive. He also gets killed. So nobody expected Sigourney Weaver to be the final person.
I guess everybody gonna get killed. That's what you would
you would think everybody was gonna die. And they did that specifically to just keep people on their toes. So the death scene with the blonde girl, when it showed the alien like his tail coming up by her legs, it's not her legs, that's Brett's legs. So that scene was for an extended scene in the director's cut where it shows exactly how Brett died instead of cutting away, and the alien did that to Brett.
I was like,
nasty. So how she dies is he grabs her and then tries to scurry away in a vent, and he can like contort his body and get in the vent. She cannot, and so she gets crushed trying to get inside this. So when she's hanging, it's the one of her body that's left that didn't make it
type stuff
into the vent. And then he crushes Yaphet to almost to death, and right before he crushes him to death, he does the double mouth and pops his head. So now it's just Ash and
Ripley
left, and she's like, "Yo, what's going on? You know, you." At this point, she's like, "What I had told y'all, if y'all would have let me keep him outside, none of this would have happened,
would still be
or whatever.
alive.
Everybody still be alive, you know, yada yada yada." And Ash is like, "You know, I had to do what I had to do." And she was like, "You know what? I'm going to Mother. I'm getting this whole thing turned around." So she get access to Mother because the captain dead, to their knowledge, and Ash is, you know, is suspicious. So she goes talk to Mother, and Mother's talking about this, you know, secret directive or whatever. And so she does whatever she need to do, and come to find out that the secret directive was the mining expedition was just a farce. That was just the reason to get them out there. What they really wanted all along, they knew about that ship out there, and the company that hired them are like, you know, evil corporation, and they wanted to harness the alien stuff for like warfare, like to study it and dissect it. You know how Americans are. You know how we do.
Typical American stuff.
So
And then it said crew.
expendable.
Yeah.
Like, just at all costs, bring this alien back. But if the crew dies, so be it.
If they die, they die.
So she in this room, like Mother is off in a secluded room where you need like this access key card to get up inside. So she's in this room by herself.
With the door closed.
With the door closed. After she reads this thing, the camera shows the side of her face, and here go Ash
Over
her shoulder. We was like, "Oh snap! How'd you get here?" And Ash is like, "There's a perfectly good explanation for this." And she crash out on Ash, and you know, start whooping up on him.
Blah, 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 blah.
And he was like,
He gets a nervous sweat and is sweating milk.
"Right, this is like, why are you sweating milk, my guy?" And it's an up close shot, so you see it clearly. Like, it's not your eyes playing
like
tricks on
this,
you.
like sideways, so you can see it.
And it's dripping down. And you remember how we were like, I guess he hit her because we saw her nose being bloody.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I saw her nose bloody, and I was like, I don't recall him like hitting her.
Mm-hmm.
Why is her nose bloody? They had a knockout drag out fight in the director's cut, but ultimately Ridley Scott was like, we don't need all that. Like, the fight that we saw was enough. So that's why I know. Also, no, I take that back. I misread. There was a scene before this scene where they cornered the alien near the airlock.
I recall.
And they were gonna release it. They lured it to the airlock and they were gonna release it.
Yes.
And then a sound, an alarm went off. It heard the alarm and scurried off before they were able to open the thing up and let them out. She later found out that Ash was the one who set the alarm off because he was trying to save the alien. But the pressurization thing like messed with her, and that's why she got the nosebleed.
Interesting.
But they cut that part out. Anyway, it still works that she got it in the fight they had. But they start going to blows, and then Ash all of a sudden turned into Superman, and he's like, "Girl, stop playing," and flinging her around or whatever. She giving him the business, and he just like,
She was so surprised. She's like, "You gonna kick my butt?"
Because she was kicking his butt at first, but it turns out he was just playing because he was like, "Girl, you're not hurting me for real." And
Wait a minute, somebody was still alive at this point. Black man was still alive at this point.
You right, yeah. So the whole black man blonde, I was. That's what happened when I skipped too far ahead instead of going play by play. So black man,
play by play on the inside.
Black man and blonde was still alive. They were part of the people who helped lure him into the airlock thing. So yeah, they ain't dead yet. So they still alive. Thanks.
Welcome.
We all over the place. I'm all over the place. So she started fighting with Ash. Ash giving her the business. He up here giving her Mortal Kombat combos, and she taking him like a G. But
she held her
own or whatever. Like, she wasn't out here being a punk. And luckily, you know, black man show up, Yafet show up, and he started helping out.
He's like, "Boy, what you doing?"
Oh, wait! Before he shows up, he beats her down and then pins her down and then rolls up the magazine.
Yeah.
He started rolling up the magazine and we were like, are you gonna
finna
beat
whip
her with a magazine?
happening?
We were like, yo.
What is happening?
But he actually tries to choke her. He tries to stick it down her throat. But I still say that Ripley was a freak because he didn't go down. She went up to it. Like she's like this. And she's like, oh. I was like, why'd you?
Let's stand in.
Why'd you do that? But while he trying to suffocate her, that's when Yafet comes in and starts whooping up on him.
But like he gets Ash off of her, and then Ash is like
yeah, he started glitching out.
He was like, what is wrong with this man?
And more whites. Now he's like spewing up white stuff, which turns out it was white added to water because they tried milk and the milk would go bad on set and they didn't want to get no food poisoning and all of that.
Talk about gross.
They did wind up using milk for the androids in the future sequels, and exactly that happened. They got food poisoning, so they don't do that no more.
Stuck to the guns.
But yeah, so he's spoiler alert, Ash is an android, but we're already in the spoiler territory, so whatever. So he starts spewing up the milk or whatever, aka the android blood, and Yafet hits him with something. I don't know what he hit him with, but he literally knocks his top
pipe
off
or something.
And you see Ash's whole neckline just go over here. Like he literally peeled his muffin cap back, Blue.
It was like, oh my god.
And yeah, we were watching. It was like, oh snap! Like this man's head just popped off, but he's still flailing around, and that's when it's revealed that he's they call him a robot, but he's an android. They were like, he's a robot. So they started beating him. They started beating him more until he stopped moving or whatever, and they ripped the head off. Now the head ripped off. They think it's safe out here. And Ash goes psych, and his body, headless body, started giving him the business again. And Ripley come in and knock him on out, and we get that done. Now this part did look bad. Everything. So I said in the beginning, only like the green screen shots of space looked bad, and then everything else looked dope. Here's another bad part. Like it was clearly a dummy, like a wax mold of Ian Holmes' face, like his head, and Ripley is trying to get it to sit upright, but it won't sit upright, and then she like hits it down real hard so that it's standing up.
Transition,
and then it transitions like it's a real quick like wipe, and it's like actual Ian Holmes, like clearly his head is below the set piece or whatever. And it's like sitting perfectly on the floor, like it's no longer tilted at an angle like it was before. And he's like just still spewing the milk or whatever, the white stuff out of his mouth. Apparently, if you rewatch Alien, you only see him with liquids. He's not eating with everybody else. Like everybody else is clearly putting food in their mouth, and he's just like
makes sense.
And it's a white liquid that he's eating. But anyway, but he tells him like, hey, yeah, what you saw Ripley was right. Y'all expendable. Like the company wanted this, whatever it was. They didn't know what it was, but they wanted it or whatever. And y'all can't do nothing about it. Like I did what I had to do to keep the thing alive, and whatever, sucks for you. Basically, y'all gonna die here. And so now, fast forward, they kill him. They busted him up. Oh, she torched him. And it was a cool shot of watching like the skin melt off of his face or whatever. Now we fast forward to black man and blonde girl dying, and she's like the only person left. So she's like, okay, I gotta do the self-destruct switch, and I'm gonna go to the pod. I'm gonna go to the escape pod. So she go to the self-destruct thing, and it tells us it's 10 minutes for self-destruct.
5 minutes.
It's 10 minutes, but you have 5 minutes to change your mind. Once it gets to 5 minutes, you can't go back. Ain't no take backs.
No backseats.
And so she's like, I don't care, cool. So she's on her way to the space pod, and then this dumb chick is like, Jonesy, forget Jonesy. I'm not going to look for Jonesy. So she wasting time looking for Jonesy. She find him,
put him in his little carrying
carrying crate or whatever, and then is going to the space pod. And when she about to round the corner, she sees the alien. Now the alien looking the other way.
Yeah.
But she comes around the corner, she's like, oh snap, and goes back around the corner. It's right in front of the escape pod. So she's like, dang, I can't go to the escape pod. Because her plan was to blow the whole thing up with him inside, because everybody dead anyway.
Yeah.
And then just float out in space. So she's like, I gotta stop the countdown because I gotta get more time. So she go back, and the countdown already
3
at
2,
5 minutes when she get there.
Yeah.
And she still try to go through with it, and it's like, I sat there and told you that once you got to 5, I'm not turning off. So now she's like, oh, what am I gonna do?
Override, mother, blah blah blah.
And mother's like, I sat there and told you. You had 10 minutes. You had a whole 10 minutes. If you wasn't looking for that stupid cat,
right,
you wouldn't be in this problem. So she's like, screw it. And so she goes back. She don't see the alien. She gets in the escape pod. She buckles up and blasts out. And she makes a little final message, saying everybody dead, status report, yada yada yada. And then takes off her clothes to show her 3 sizes too small
3T panties. Those were 100%
children's
not adult
panties.
underwear.
We were like, why your panties so low? And Elisa's like, they what's it called, bikini cut or whatever. I was like, that ain't bikini cut.
They were bikini cut.
That's just too
they
small.
Just were also too small.
I was like, this past the hips, like it's down on her booty. And then when she turned around, plumber's crack, just top half of her booty out. And I'm just like, that ain't uncomfortable. That ain't uncomfortable to you. So on that, apparently the novel writer was very into H.P. Lovecraft, who's very sexual, and so a lot of stuff was meant to be sexual in the movie, and Dan O'Bannon put that in. A lot of it got taken out, so I'm not gonna get into the weeds, but there was a lot of sexual stuff. The alien was like a sexual being.
When he put his tail up that leg, I was like, you little nasty son.
Yeah,
I was like, that's a boy alien.
that was one of the scenes. So what was supposed to happen in the pod, but Ridley Scott was like, no, we're not doing this. Y'all are weird. But
it was gonna get her goodies.
So she got, more comfortable
down to her skivvies,
because that's what they were in the cryo freeze things in, was just underwear or whatever, right? So it wasn't like she got naked for no reason. James Cameron, who directed the sequel, had a problem with it. He was like, I'll never show a woman unnecessarily in her underwear. Like, he really has a problem with that scene.
It's gratuitous.
But anyway, I knew why she was getting undressed, because she was getting in the crowd thing. So I didn't have a problem with it, except the fact that her panties was 5 sizes too small. But the alien, so spoiler alert, she gets ready to get into the crowd thing, and she sees something, and she's like, what is that? And it turns out it's the alien curled up in like a wall panel. Like, he done took a wall panel out, and he done curled up, and the hand comes out or whatever, and she's like, and freaks out and slowly backs up into the closet where the spacesuits are at, and it's just like hiding.
An actual proper spacesuit, finally.
Right.
Why didn't y'all have these on the ship?
The real question is, why do they have those 5 hatchets?
Oh yeah,
it was just hatchets up on the wall, and I was like, why do you have hatchets up on the wall?
Pod.
But yeah, so the alien uncurls himself from the wall, and in the original script sees her, because she ain't, like, it's a small space pod. It ain't like the big spaceship. Like, I see you, you see me. And he's looking at her, and the alien starts feeling on himself and looking at her, and is like comparing body, and it kills for sexual release, is what the original thing was. And
Men.
also, apparently, because it attached to a human, it started mimicking humans. So that's why it looks the way it looks. So apparently, it kind of mimics the original idea was for it to mimic whatever it took as a
It
host.
leached on.
Yeah. So it's noticing like my body ain't like your body or whatever. Like that's pretty nice, and it tries to assault her. Luckily they took that mess out because that's just weird and stupid. But she comes up with the plan to jettison it out the door of the pod. So the thing like kind of crawls back into the hole, and then she done put the spacesuit on, put the helmet on and all that, slowly comes out, sits in a chair, buckles up, and then presses some buttons to make like the pressure things in the wall irritated, and it's like is getting out. And then once it gets in front of the door, she pops the door open and it goes out.
Except
it holds on. It's like, wait a minute. And it holds on, and she winds up shooting it with a harpoon, which also, why was that in the space pod, in the escape pod? But worked out in her favor, and she shoots it out, and she lets go of the harpoon, but she closes the door, but the harpoon gun itself is on the inside, and the cord and the harpoon attached to the alien on the outside, so the alien tethered. Just tethered to the back. And he's like, you're gonna get rid of me that easily. So he climbs up the rope and is trying to get in one of the engines, and she sees it, and so she turns the jets on, and it burns it, and it flies out. So the original ending was it grabbed her and they both flew out, and there was no survivors. Everybody died.
That would have been nice.
And the executives were like, man, you can't have a sad ending like that. Somebody gotta live.
No, they don't.
So right,
Jonesy live.
So they changed it, and it was supposed to be they still both got pulled out, and they were going to be tethered back there, and they were going to be like fighting in space, and she would eventually knock it off and then like pull herself back, but they ain't had that budget. I gotta shout out the set pieces. Most times when you see space, it's usually silver and just shiny, and it's like a flat wall, maybe like a strip, like an accent strip along the wall. This was like pipes and hoses and like
dingy.
Yeah, dark and dingy and all of that. Like it looked built. It looked like the inside of space. Like all the set pieces look real dope. Anyway, they ran out of budget. They couldn't film that scene where she's dangling out like that, so they scrapped it. And it is how it is. So then she makes another also, when he pulls her out, he gets back in. And then to add to the whole original idea of them becoming more like what the first host was, it grabs the intercom thing and uses Dallas's voice and is like, hey, I'm the last survivor. It pulled a Return of the Living Dead. Send more cops. But yeah, it uses Dallas's voice, and it was supposed to be like it ends right there.
I'm glad they didn't do that.
I'm glad they didn't do that either. But yeah, she says another final log and then puts Jonesy and her inside the cryo-sleep thing.
Well, she did that before. She put him in.
Oh yeah.
And did all of that, and that was when she saw the alien.
But yeah, she gets in, and she says how long it's gonna take for her to get like within range for them to come pick her up. It's gonna be a while. But she's like, hopefully I get picked up. Obviously she does, because they made Aliens, the sequel.
Back with a vengeance.
And yeah, that's the movie. I know we done told you the whole movie, but it was great. It was great. So if you didn't know from me talking about it, I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. Even though we watched it years ago before Prometheus came out, I couldn't remember anything about the movie.
Anything.
I knew I liked it, but I could literally, this was like the first time watching it again. But this movie was great, even though my blood pressure was up the whole time. Like I said, I wasn't scared of it. Most horror movies I'm not scared of. I'm just entertained by them. I was definitely entertained by this. They was making me mad at every turn. I love like I said, the look of the spaceship. I love the look of the alien at all the different stages of life. Oh, so
Oh, let me ask my
yeah,
question now.
go ahead.
Earlier, I asked what the mortality rate of a xenomorph is, because I felt like by the time they got to the escape pod that it should have been dying from just like the speed that it progressed in age from when it first hatched. I was like, you should be like 90 some years old now and you should be on your last leg. So I thought when they showed it curled up in there, I thought that it was dying at that point and it just found that little nook to die in. Clearly that wasn't the case. It still has some fight in it. But if y'all know, I know somebody knows. Tell me what the mortality rate is.
So actually,
and also, is mortality rate the word I'm looking for? I don't think it is. Yeah.
What the lifespan is?
Yeah. How old do they get and how fast do they age? Is what I'm trying to ask.
So you were actually correct. That thing was dying, and it went inside the little crevice to die. But they wind up retconning it later in the sequels and giving them. They still have a super fast grow up rate, but once they're
a certain age,
once they get to full adulthood, they live for like a long time. But in the original script, yeah, it was going there to die. And what little fight it had left is because she agitated it with the
it was like,
the pressure thing or whatever. But yeah, and I think they said this is the only alien that kills just to be killing. In the sequels, it kills not out of aggression, but just out of like, y'all here, like,
I thought it was killing it because it needed them to grow.
So this movie like established the world of Alien, but also is kind of halfway non-canon, because like the whole lifespan thing changed, and the like reasoning behind their motivation changed.
I definitely always thought that of all the Alien movies that they just killed to kill, and that Predator killed for the challenge. Yeah. It was like, Alien, they just kill you because you're looking at them because it's Tuesday. At least with Predator, they give you a reason. And that's why I thought the Predator was more cool. He's a more chill alien.
But yeah, so the Alien always looked dope to me, just like Predator. Like, it's a classic, unique design. That's dope. Set pieces, the acting was good. Ash being a random twist of being an android was crazy. The tension was there. Like I said, my blood pressure was up on high. Like the mood was set right. Like the music, the score would be nice. The cinematography, all that stuff is great. It definitely deserves to be on 1001 movies you must watch before you die. It sets up like a strong female character who's not just strong because somebody says she's strong. Like, she came in 10 toes down. Y'all not getting in this ship. And then they just said, which I said when we were watching the movie, I was like, they made that character a woman just so they could be like, man, shut up. Because if it was like Ving Rhames in that role, they'd have been like, all right, I guess we're not coming in the ship.
Right.
But they just like walked over her. But she still was like, didn't take it lying down. Yeah, she was still telling them like, you shouldn't have brought him up in here. And when stuff got, rough, she was down with it. She was in the mix. She wasn't like, somebody come help me. She was like, I'm gonna handle business myself. She wasn't until the end sexualized. So she was a great character. She's been a staple in like sci-fi. Like, Sigourney Weaver is like synonymous with sci-fi movies. They've had a Galaxy Quest, an Avatar, and some other stuff. And even in horror, like, she's been in non-space stuff as well. Like, she has established a name for herself. Star-studded cast. Everybody did good at their role of like the type of person they were supposed to be. Like I believed them. I was with the characters. The pacing was good. I didn't feel like, man, this movie's too long. Can't wait for it to be over. Like I was enthralled the whole time. So I give Alien 4 Cowboy Ninjas out of 5. I'm not gonna give it. I almost gave it 4.5. They was doing some stuff. I was just like, why are we doing this? Like this doesn't make any sense. Like the being nonchalant about this alien being on the spaceship thing was just like, that's weird. I'm not, even if I've been out in space all this time mining ore, my boy got a thing on his face and we don't know if he alive or not for real.
There's
and
a
then
pencil sticking out of his face. R.I.P. Patrice O'Neal.
Then the thing disappears and you're not that concerned about it and all of that, and the disregard for the safety officer is ridiculous. All of it. So that loses a star on the believability. Like my suspension of disbelief or suspension of belief or whatever it was, like took a hit on that. Other than that, like 90% of the stuff holds up visually. So this came out in 79. 90% of it still looks great. Yeah, definitely go out and watch this. I'd watch the regular cut. Don't watch the director's cut, in my opinion. But you know, teach his own. You, wife?
You said literally
Everything.
everything.
You could have
about the
chimed
movie.
in.
You were giving your opinion. Well, I liked it. What he said. All the stuff he said, I agree with. And I also give it 4 Cowboy Ninjas out of 5. And I do think it deserves to be on the list, the 1001 movies you must watch before you die list, because it was an innovator. As I always say, I'm always like, it wasn't the first of its kind, it wasn't an innovator, blah, blah, blah. This was not the first of its kind, but it was one of the first of its kind. And it was an innovator. And it gave aliens a new look. It wasn't the grays or
eyes.
that kind of stuff. It was a new look for aliens. People that scared of aliens had a new fear unlocked in their head. And yeah, so I do think that it deserves to be on the list, and I do recommend that you watch it.
Anything else?
Nope. Absolutely nothing else can be said.
Well, that was it, folks. All of our thoughts on 1979's
Some
Alien.
more than others.
If you've seen this movie and got opinions on it, write down your comments below. Give it a big thumbs up if you enjoyed this review. If you didn't, go ahead and thumbs it down. We don't care.
I do care. Just kidding.
Share it. Subscribe if you're not. Stay tuned for more movies on the list.
From our October movies, where we are focusing on horror, thriller type movies off of the list.
Yeah, go to the description and you can see the list. So if you want to see something in particular this month, drop it in the comments and we'll watch that. But until then, this has been another episode of Team Tatum. Bow.